There's never going to be the perfect time to do anything.
Right.
And even now, 10 years later, I'm still learning that there's never a perfect time. So just jump into it.
I've been feeling so distant from you, cause I just been so busy. Don't you take it personal, cause I ain't answer, I'm just cooling with my friends. When you see me at the top, you'll understand.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Gray Domain podcast, where we have deep conversations about the gray areas on our creative journey. The focus is to highlight the emotions and the process that we tend to overlook on our quest to freedom. My name is Justin P. Etienne. I'm the founder and your host of the Gray Domain podcast. And today I'm so excited because it's the first ever episode. And I have a very special guest for you today. He is the epitome of what it means to break boundaries across various industries. He is a photographer, filmmaker, model, actor, creative director, stylist, and he's worked with various creatives in the industry such as Lori Harvey, Normani, Janelle Monáe, British royalty. He's acted in various movies. And aside from all of those accolades, he is a genuine human being, one of the most funniest people I know, and a true dear friend to me. And I would like to introduce Christopher Horne.
Yo, bro, so it's really great to have you, bro.
Thanks, bro. I'm proud of you. I feel like I'm on a big old set right now.
Bro, we started off, 2014, I knew you, bro.
Ooh, yeah, 2014. That was my first year at FIT. Wait, was that your first year?
Yeah, so that was my freshman year. I was 17 years old. Came straight out of Long Island. I applied to production management, and then we met, I think, the first week of school. I think me and you and
That's
Alan.
crazy,
And the first photo shoot we ever had, we went up the block, like a block away from FIT on 28th Street by the entry.
What were we shooting? Your line? Did you start your line like back then, or?
Bro, I didn't have any allocates, no skill set whatsoever with fashion. I just was a kid just trying to figure it out like everybody else.
I was gonna say that. I think that was all of us, especially like at that time. It was our freshman year in in college. It was just trying to figure it out.
Facts, bro. And that's the thing. Like it was so amazing to be in a space where there was so many people from across the globe that was just doing different things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when you told me you were from New Orleans, I never actually met somebody from there.
Real?
Nah.
That's crazy.
So wow. I'd love to dive into the concept of your photography and you going to FIT. Like what inspired you to apply to FIT for photography? What introduced you to the program? Because a lot of people don't know there's different programs in these schools.
Absolutely.
So what inspired you to take that step and the leap to go there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first, it always starts in your mind. Like, you have to believe these things really do exist. And then after you believe it, you have to be exposed to it. So thankfully, I had parents who did expose me to the world, not necessarily around me, but to the world that I figured that exists. I seen it on TV. I heard about these things. So I'm like, okay. I told my parents this is what I wanted to do, and they were all for it. My mom is a talent agent, so we had always taken trips to New York, for different assignments, jobs.
Right.
For Hurricane Katrina, actually, when everybody in New Orleans went to Texas, my family actually came here we actually moved to Newark, New Jersey. So my oldest brother, who's incarcerated now, he would always go to off-Broadway shows. I went to the Lion King audition, and again, coming to Times Square, Manhattan, all those things, I was like, wow, I want to live here. So after, I think I was in the third grade, when we moved back to New Orleans, I just had it in my mind, I'm like, I want to move to New York. So I did. And FIT was that chance to jump into New York.
Right. So when was the first time you picked up the camera?
Ooh, I picked up a camera at 16. There was a guy shooting around the city, high school parties. Mm-hmm. And I told my mom, I was like, if you buy me a camera for Christmas, I promise I can make $200 every house party, because I was pretty popular. Just for fashion stuff.
Yeah.
Even at 15, 16 growing up. So I was like, I know I would get hired to shoot these parties. She bought me a camera, 2010 for Christmas, and then January 2011, I started, and I literally was shooting a house party every weekend, and
so
it
you stuck to your word.
Yeah, it had an editorial touch feel. on house parties because I was always like in my mind fashion driven, so it had that touch on it, and people loved it, and that's how it started.
That's powerful, bro.
Yeah.
And me knowing you for the past couple of years, I know you have a very close relationship with your mom. So, how has your relationship with your mother inspired you to embody this confidence and to be so sure of yourself that you knew I can make money every weekend if you allow me to get this camera? Like, how does that correlate to your work, and what were some of the things that she used to tell you as a kid to allow you to feel that confident in yourself?
Well, going back to what I just said in moving here, it was my parents always gave us an outlet to be creative. And because I always say it starts at home, bro. From my start at 5 into the industry of like TV and film, I wanted to act, so my parents gave me and my brothers the opportunity to do so. So I know, like, fast forward to 15 years old, me asking for a camera, it was not in my mind that they would be like, no, you want to be a photographer? That doesn't exist. You got to stay, go to school for like whatever, the, traditional things.
Right.
But
like a doctor, lawyer.
absolutely.
Right.
I believed that they would give me that opportunity. So I asked and they did, and it birthed all of this.
Wow, bro. And that's a beautiful thing because
Yeah.
a lot of people, especially from our communities, we don't always get the chance and the luxury to be able to have the choice to do these things. And, oftentimes, like, people that I know or even myself, I had, like, moments where I was faced with adults who told me that I can't go into fashion because it wasn't practical. I say all that to say, be very thankful that you had a safe space to be yourself, to express yourself, to have a vision and to follow through with that. Because now you're doing all of these things and now you have a platform to be able to do these things.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
No, of course. I met you at FIT.
Wow.
While you were at FIT or before FIT, what inspired you to go there for photography? Like, what introduced you to the program?
For me, it was about, it's so funny because I graduated high school and I had this idea that, okay, just use photography as a hobby and go to school for something more traditional and more useful. Before photography, in between like acting and photography, I had a huge passion for journalism and communications. I would always say like, I'm gonna be the Black Ryan Seacrest. And so I was like, okay, while I have photography, I'm gonna go to school for journalism. So I went to Loyola in New Orleans, and I would go to school every day my freshman year, and it was just like this burning desire in me to go after like more of the creative arts. And I was like, I worked at a law firm with my mom, and I told her, I'm like, yeah, this is just not it. I'm not fulfilled. And she was like, let's get you to New York. So I applied. I would like research the world's most leading fashion schools and creative arts. And I found FIT amongst a few other schools like Parsons. But I felt like FIT just fit me at who I was at that point.
Right.
And I applied and got accepted. And
on the first try?
Yeah.
You realized that was the #1 fashion school in the world, and you got in on the first try. That's powerful, bro.
It actually gave me chills think about that.
For real, you were chosen, bro.
Thank you, bro.
And when you congratulations on that. When you stepped into the school, though, what was your initial thoughts when you stepped foot on campus? Like, I can imagine how nerve-wracking it is for you to manifest something like that, and you got in on the first try. You stepped in there and
that gave me chills thinking about it.
I'm telling you, you accomplished, those goals when you were young.
Yeah.
And then you're in this whole new world. So how did you start navigating through the system of school? What would you say was the pros and the cons of being in FIT during your freshman year?
Well, immediately, I remember the day I went for like my audition for photography. My mom was waiting outside in the car eating like the dollar pizza across the street. So we got
dollar pizza.
Yeah,
dollar pizza saved mad people in school.
Really.
People used to have mad quarters and dimes and go to dollar pizza and eat the best dinner of their life, bro.
College days, never forget that.
Facts.
But yeah, stepping on the college campus, I was like, I felt it. I was like, this is for me. And then going into my audition, I remember one of my professors, Ron Amato, he took a look at my portfolio. He was like, there's no way you just started. I was like, well, something like that. And he was like, and I told him that David LaChapelle was one of my favorite photographers and inspiration. And he was like, he actually has an exhibit coming up next week. I'll give you the tickets.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, what?
That was the first day.
My first literally intern to school, just to audition. And he was like, I'll give you my tickets. You should go see the show. And my head exploded. From that moment, I was like, this is where I need to be. People like David LaChapelle, they're not having shows where I grew up. Like, people are not walking around with like David LaChapelle Vogue tickets or anything else in my hometown. And I knew I had to expand myself. I had to, make myself accessible to a world that did not exist in my hometown, but one in which was conducive to where I wanted to go.
Wow.
So from that moment, I knew it was it.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So the universe gave you the sign that, like, hey, this is exactly where you're supposed to be.
God was showing me from the very first moment. Again, when I walked into the school, I was like, this is where I need to be. The environment was literally from Loyola University to the Fashion Institute. It was two different worlds. It was like almost like one of those Disney movies where, like, you go to a school and then if you're a wizard, you like go from public school to the wizard school and be like, wow, this is,
Facts.
me.
Wow. And that's a beautiful thing that you were able to experience something so beautiful like that, because I know a lot of people in fashion school, they experience the opposite, where like things get so challenging and life just slaps them in the face to where they feel like they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have to any creatives who enter a space like that, but they experience the opposite end of the spectrum, like where they might feel like a professor is talking to them in a way where they're not equipped enough to be there, or maybe they don't have the confidence yet?
Yeah, I mean, life itself, and more specifically in this industry, as you know, it's always going to come with obstacles and challenges.
For sure.
But I think when there's a calling for you to be in a certain arena, just keep giving it all you got. It's like, don't pay attention to the no's. We like to say no's or not yet. Everything you do, bro, if you're in finance, design, environmental studies, everything is going to come with obstacles. But that just shapes you, not even as an artist, but your character.
Definitely. I love that you touched on that. And what inspires me the most is that you stepped into the school from New Orleans. I grew up in New York City.
Yeah.
I grew up in Long Island as well, like went to high school out there. But I don't know if you remember when we first met, Alan introduced us to each other.
Yeah.
He was like, this is my bro Chris.
That's crazy.
And then you had your camera that day, and you said, yo, let's go do a shoot. And we walked over to 28th Street. We walked up towards 6th Avenue. And it was actually raining outside. It was like drizzling outside that day. And you were like, I didn't want to get my camera wet. But you was like, let's just do a shoot anyway.
That's funny because now I'll be like, hell with it. Let's do it.
We was jumping over puddles and everything, me and Alan. And you took pictures of us. And then since that day, bro, we was like locked in. Like,
course,
we started linking up heavy.
Yeah, I remember seeing you. I was not introduced to you as a person first. Might sound crazy, but I remember like your style. You had always just like this different, very specific, unique style, and that was like my introduction to you. And I was like,
that, bro.
He's dope, so let's go shoot. That's crazy.
Damn, bro. I used to actually go to Buffalo Exchange and like use my money to get some clothes last minute in school. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's crazy.
So just being in a space where we can express ourselves, and that's why fashion is so important, right? Because people just think it's just about getting dressed. Like you just throw on some clothes. It's more than that. Yeah. It's a language. Like we get to communicate nonverbal cues to the point where even if Chris is wearing a certain pair of pants that speaks to me, if he's wearing leather or if he's wearing like a certain color, it can speak to me in a way where we can start to have a conversation off of that. And that's what fashion school was.
Yeah.
We got
language.
That language, bro.
Wow.
We got to campus, and I was in freshman orientation, and then I started meeting all of these creatives like yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that there was a whole world of people like that.
Unspoken language.
Right.
I never thought about it like
Universal
that, bro.
language, bro. And
wow.
I guess from that point, it got to a point where we started shooting consistently. But I remember when we were in the classroom, I used to pull up on you in the classroom.
Don't say nothing crazy.
You was acting a fool, bro. Every Friday I was pulling up on you.
We used to have fun. We had the craziest moments.
Bro, and I want you to touch on what it was like for you to maintain being in the classroom and being disciplined in that area, and then also starting to get gigs. Because I remember you started doing shoots with agencies while you was in college, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, how is he balancing all of this out?
It was hard. Well, even before the agency work, it's crazy because I had already established like a large clientele in my hometown, New Orleans.
Right.
So literally to like pay my rent and my car note here in New York, I would fly home once a month and go do work. Like I would take 3 days. I didn't have like Friday class or Monday class. I would arrange it that way to where I could have like a 3-day weekend, and I would just pack like so many clients in New Orleans and fly back. And everybody, and all my friends and peers, y'all like, wait, why are you flying home like once a month?
I remember that.
And it sustained me here in New York. So thankfully there was that. And then once I started to slow down on flying home, I just, in the meantime, wanted to, like when we were having assignments in school, everybody would use, their friends and peers in the class. And I was like, I want to shoot fashion, so I need fashion models. And I would just contact the agencies, give them cold calls, cold emails, and say, hey, I'm a photographer here new to New York. I would like to shoot your models. And it started, of course, as a free gig, building my portfolio. And then it started to almost turn into like a 9-to-5 where my work was strong enough for them to pay me, and they would pay me. And I would shoot their models for their books, for castings and stuff like that.
Wow. And how long did it take for you to start seeing responses from them? Because I know sometimes when you reach out to, especially in fashion, you know how it is, it's so cutthroat. You could reach out to people for a long period of time and not hear nothing. But that doesn't mean you're not good, though. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, it was actually a lot of no's. And, but there was this one yes. And it was actually, God is so intentional. The connection with that was, it was a model that I shot in New Orleans. She got signed
Full circle moment.
Full circle. She got signed to major models in New York. And her agent was like, Christopher Horne, I love your work. And from that moment, that was like my entryway into shooting with agencies.
So there's a common pattern here already that I'm noticing. Like every direction that you stepped into, as long as you moved in love, everything worked in your favor. Yeah. And of course, I'm sure you had a lot of obstacles, but I want you guys to realize that whatever direction you step into, the ground will meet you where you're at. And that's what happened for you.
I love that.
Because you could have felt like you were inadequate, or you didn't have the capacity to get to that level. You could have overthought and been like, I don't really have a big portfolio, so I shouldn't reach out to them yet. Maybe I should wait 2 more years, or maybe I should wait till after graduation. But you did it while you were in school.
Absolutely.
And that's a superpower, So that's what opened up that door, and I love that you touched on that.
Thank you, bro. I mean, there's never going to be the perfect time to do anything.
Right.
And even now, 10 years later, I'm still learning that there's never a perfect time. So just jump into it, and God will use what He's giving you in that moment to, propel you to the next.
That's a fact.
You'll never have all the resources, but you will always have enough.
That's a fact.
You'll always have enough.
That's a fact. What was the biggest opportunity that you got while you were in FIT that allowed you to recognize, like, now I have the power to expand this into the dream life that I want to have?
The biggest opportunity, I would say, blessing rather, was not an event or a thing, but it was people. The people around me. One of my best friends, Chester Canassa, that's like my creative partner. We have shot so many projects together, like the Met Gala, shooting the Duchess of York in London.
Wow.
So meeting him, and first of all, it's crazy because before we got there, we had both prayed like that we would find like a Christian brother, best friend. And even before knowing that, like, that we shared the same spiritual space, we just like clicked. And from that, we just started doing projects together.
Wow.
And that for me was like one of the greatest things that I received from FIT.
So the blessings was more so contingent on the relationships and the
Absolutely.
people more than the opportunities and the materialistic things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. FIT didn't give me nothing, but
I love that, man.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful to see that you lead with that first, because those are the things that we take with us forever.
Absolutely.
That's where the value lies, within us, and then the relationships that we have, the connections that we have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was the people. I say it all the time. People will say like, "Oh, do you feel like you've learned much like from FIT?" For me, because I like YouTube University was like great for me before I even got to the school.
Right.
It was the people for me. It was not like really what I learned in the classroom setting. It was the atmosphere, how it made me feel, what I took from it when I left, and that was the creatives in the class.
So I had a question in terms of motivation. There's a lot of things that happen in the world, or there's obstacles that we face as creators, right? What are some things that you would normally do to pick yourself up when you're in a slump?
Wow. I mean, for me, it's a tried and true formula. And whenever I'm unmotivated or I feel like down or in a slump, I go to prayer. I know that there are certain weaknesses I have, certain insufficiencies, so I got to go somewhere that's all sufficient, and that's God. I pray a lot. Even it could be just like coming here, like God, give me the words to speak. I don't know what to say, or before I'm styling for a shoot, God, literally lead my hands and my eyes to create how you would have me create, shoot how you would have me shoot. So it's always going to the one who has all power to do all things, because I don't. So
Love that.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And you do so many different things. That's why it's so powerful what you do.
Yeah, that's why I don't sleep.
Let's talk about the sleep thing, because I want to come back to that. I was going to talk about photography to filmmaking.
Yeah.
How do you keep yourself going with all of it? How do you maintain balance with everything that you're doing? That's wild, bro.
Wow. It's hard. It's hard. But working in an industry such as fashion and entertainment that demands so much from us, there's a lot of times where you're not going to sleep. But I'm working on time management, just making space for me to show up as my best, because without sleep, without feeding ourselves as a temple, you're going to run low.
Right.
Again, because everything that we're insufficient.
Right.
So yeah, getting rest is like recharging.
I love that. And I remember we was on FaceTime maybe about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you just came back from home, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I was actually on my way. I just got back to New York from Utah, I think.
Utah, right?
Sundance, yeah.
And we were having a conversation, and I'd love to pick your brain about, the concept of perfection. Like, we always want things to be a specific way. How do you deal with putting out your work and understanding that I have this client and this is something that they want to do, this is a vision that they have, but also setting the boundary of your craft and your vision? How do you set the boundary but also, accommodate for the client as well?
Yeah, it's actually, it's funny because Chester, who I spoke of, he gave me a great nugget, and that's create for the client first and then yourself. Make sure you walk away with, in my regard, a portfolio piece. And the client may always have like different visions, but it's just like, how do we merge the two? Because every time, one thing that I don't want to say tolerate, but when I walk on set and you want me to do something totally outside of the reason you booked me, it's like, you're not booking a photographer, you're booking Christopher Horne. So you have to know what that comes with. Certain things like, if we have a gorgeous penthouse and you want me to set up a backdrop and shoot you on a white backdrop, that doesn't make sense for me as a fashion photographer. I have not been called to shoot e-commerce before the Met Gala. I've been called to document this incredible moment. So again, if we're on top of the Eiffel Tower or the freaking Empire State Building,
right,
it's like, I want to use the environment around us and create within those spaces, not set up. Teach your own. I'm not here to bash on another artist, but I'm saying just like what works for me is hiring Christopher Horne. You brought me here for a certain reason. Utilize that, because that's the power that we have in that moment.
I love that. Wow. Very well said. And then in terms of how you go about putting your work out, because I know I know my bro, you particular, he don't even want to post certain photos because the layout don't look a certain way.
All right, on my feed, that's wild.
On your Instagram feed. So what's your thought process on that?
Well, that comes from me just being intentional about every little detail, and also there's an intentionality in that, but also using my platform, my social media, as another portfolio, as another website. A lot of people even artists may use their social media just as a space to just be themselves. Like, look, y'all, I'm like here celebrating my grandpa's birthday or whatever the case is. For me, it's if my number one desired client clicked on my social media profile, they have an extension of my website. They see all of my work laid out in a very intentional, aesthetically pleasing way. So
it tells a story.
Yeah, it tells a story, exactly. And it hinders me certain times because, like you said, I may not post like a strong photo of a very like high profile client that would pull people in simply because like I don't think two black photos
next to each other.
Yeah, black wardrobe may look great next to one another, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
I love that. So you talked about how intentional you are with your work.
Yeah.
A lot of creatives may just get into a flow state where they're creating or putting out work. It's like poetry. It's just natural for them to just express themselves and people just see it a certain way.
Yeah.
But what motivated you to be so intentional about every detail that you put out?
Wow. I would say acting. The beginning, my introduction to this creative journey. Actors are taught you have to be intentional about how you show up as a specific character. You can't just like go with the flow or go with who you know as what you know as me, Christopher Horne, yourself. You have to show up as that character, intentional about how they move, how would they respond, how would their facial expressions show up on camera or in real life rather. And so with that, it always kind of, I guess, forced me to be a perfectionist, which is like not so great in a lot of areas of life, but it did help me just be intentional about like every step of the way.
Being a photographer, starting off as an actor, photographer, and then pivoting back into acting, did you feel any imposter syndrome in the fact that because you were in a realm of fashion, people might not take your work as serious because you're venturing off into different realms?
Really, truthfully, to be honest, I think it's not because I was like already a photographer. I just think like as a young black man, there's always going to be like these thoughts where am I called to this? Am I good enough? And will I sustain in an industry that's like, white man dominated? But then I think about who I am. And all those thoughts go away.
They go away?
Because I remember I'm called to this.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's powerful, bro.
Absolutely, brother.
What was the first gig as an actor that pretty much changed your life and your perspective on being in the acting industry?
The gig that changed my life, and I think the hardest assignment to date across the board, across the whole spectrum of all my careers, was me playing Emmett in Tales from the Hood 2. Yeah, bro, that changed my life.
Tales from the Hood 2.
Yeah,
and
changed
when did that
my
come
life.
out?
That came out in 2018. And it's still on Netflix right now, but I had to portray Emmett Till and just, again, being intentional about how I showed up as him.
Wow. As
a black 13-year-old in Mississippi in 1955, I believe it was.
And that's a heavy role, though.
Heavy.
Damn.
Heavy.
How did that impact your journey, or how did it impact your mental health at all? Because I know sometimes when I hear actors talk about them embodying a certain character, it's almost as if they're taking on that energy. So did you feel heavy doing it? Did you feel emotional?
Yeah, you just said it. You take home that. You take home those burdens. I just couldn't be like, the director was like, cut, and I'm like, woo, go and get some nachos. It was like, I'm in my car on my way home, like sitting at home. Like, wow. Emmett Till was like literally beaten to death for just existing. Nothing else. Solely for existing in the skin of a black man as a black boy, not as a man. So that was heavy to take that home with me. But thankfully, it just reminded me of the privilege that we have now to exist where things are slightly better. So yeah, I just, it made me even more grateful for the life that we are blessed to live right now.
Day by day.
Day by day.
And the thing is, what reminds me of that is the fact that whenever we go through these obstacles today in our lives, especially as black men too, I always remind myself that we have more than what our ancestors had, decades and decades
So much
ago.
more. So much
more, to the point where we have a chance to come on a platform like this and talk to a camera, and nobody can come in and stop us to do the shit. I always think about that, bro.
Yeah, and I say like slightly in certain regards, but we are thankfully, much more progressed than what it was again in like 1955. Like you said, somebody can't just like come tell us to get out or like handcuff us. It's yeah.
I love that, bro. And what are some obstacles that you feel like you've faced in the past couple of years that has impacted you as a creative in general?
I would say a thing that really changed the trajectory of how I create is the documentary series that I'm filming with my mom based on our family story and our family dynamic, which is living and trying to cope with having a loved one who are incarcerated. And for me, it really took my work in fashion, creating solely based on the foundation of fantasy, to creating based on reality. Absolutely. And it just gave my work and how I seen the world much more substance. Yeah. So
dive into the process of what it's like to even film a documentary on mass incarceration. That's so I want to commend you for that, bro. That's really powerful.
Thank you.
And I know you said you're doing it with your mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is that process like working beside your mother, the person who even gave you the freedom and the chance to go to FIT?
Wow.
And now you're working beside her as an adult. Like how? What is that?
I never thought about it that way.
What's that like?
Well, it was empowering in a lot of ways, but also very challenging and heavy, just as an Emmett role was. But now in the capacity of documentary filmmaking, it gave me the drive to see her power encouraging other mothers who are newly facing the daunting reality of having a son incarcerated or a daughter, seeing her do it so effortlessly, and reminded me that it was almost like me just being introduced to this world, to her as a mom with a son incarcerated, because when my brother was incarcerated, she always masked those feelings of whether that were like suicidal thoughts or whatever the case was. She came home with a smile on her face.
And did you notice that when she was masking it at the time?
I did not, because I was about 11, 12 years old. But now being 29 and now learning more about her experiences through the stories of other mothers, I'm like, wow, this is what my mom went through. So again, while it was empowering, it was also, just like the Emmett Till role, the heaviest assignment that I ever had to face, especially as a new filmmaker. Wow. But it gave me the eagerness to really go after these stories that people need to hear, that go unheard. And that's why we named our production company Unheard Productions.
I love that.
Yeah. And
it's so beautiful to me, right? Sometimes it's so easy to overlook what, especially like women do on a day-to-day, like a black mother.
Yeah.
For her to be able to take care of her children and grieve without letting anybody see and without her complaining once about it. I always give like flowers to my mother for being able to provide, a life for me to be able to be here right now. Like it even make me emotional sometimes, because I didn't know my mom was going through a lot of the things she was going through when I was younger.
Wow.
Like you said. And in terms of purpose, like that's one of the things that we have to remind ourselves of, that the people before us gave us that like pavement and that lane to be able to go in that direction. They let us go freely to be ourselves, and then it gets to the point where you're working beside your mom now, bro. So like,
and I think they did that because they didn't really have those opportunities.
Exactly. So it's like we're breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
But what's beautiful about it is that you're able to break the cycle with your mother now. So it's like y'all breaking the cycle times 2.
Wow.
Because a lot of our parents had to do it on their own.
Thank you, bro. That means a lot.
For real.
Never thought about it like that.
So you're doing it. You're actually having a purposeful project with your mother, and I love that. And when is that going to drop? Like,
we're actually, thank you, bro. We're actually in production right now. We're editing our pilot episode. We have a few network meetings scheduled, so I'm excited about that. And we're just being hopeful, no matter what happens, that we are hungry. These stories have to be told. It's not whether a network picks it up or whatever happens. We have to tell the stories ourselves, because if not, they'll continue to go unheard, and that's not an option.
It's not.
Not at all in today's climate.
Love that, bro. I commend you for that. And it's going to touch a lot of people across the world.
Yeah, I received that. Thank you, bro.
So, Chris is the type of person where he just be immersed in his work. Like, he just doing it, you feel me? Like, I want you to really...
Like yourself.
Yeah, I'm like that too. But I want you to sit down right now and really dive into the fact that, like, you have clients that some people dream to be next to. Like, you're working with people that people are looking at every single day, and they wish they could even have a small conversation with these people. Somebody like Normani, for example. What is that like? From you to come from FIT or come from New Orleans to FIT to working with a celebrity client, not because of just the status, right? But just the impact that they have on a big group of people. You're amongst creators in a room where they trust you to be able to tell their story. What is that like?
Well, it's amazing you said, like, for them to trust us, because I think it's people in positions like myself, we're given this access, right, like you said, that everybody don't have the privilege to have. And I think, like, saying a role or people that everybody want to talk to, they actually want to just have conversations with regular people like us. They are hungry for that. So when I step on set, first of all, as I said earlier, I asked God to just use me and take over. And with that, I am not like looking for a selfie. I'm not like, oh my God, let me, do this and make sure they're seen as this big celebrity. It's just like existing with a person just like us. And I think that's what truly sustains me in this work.
I love
it. It sustains me in those high-profile, prestigious places. It's just being myself as a normal person and not trying to create somebody fictional based on my perception of what I believe they want or how I should act around them.
What was the most memorable moment that you had with somebody like Normani, for example?
Normani, I think it was like actually this past trip with Sundance Film Festival, being able, what keeps me going in such a demanding industry is the opportunity to be able to tell a story. And a client like Normani at Sundance Film Festival, it was her acting debut. So for me, I got to experience her going into a new chapter. And those are always the things that I take away that means more than money or, fame or whatever, comes with that life. It's like, wow, I get to embark on a new journey with them and document that for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful, bro.
Absolutely. It's always for me about storytelling.
So there's so much beauty in being able to build bridges across different avenues, whether if it's photography, film, acting. My question to you is, how do you plan on packaging all of these powerful experiences in a way where you're able to build a broad bridge for so many people to cross now. Like, what does that look like in the next couple of years for you?
So I plan to use all of my past experiences to just create opportunities for artists like myself. I really enjoy lessening the learning curve and give opportunities in spaces to aspiring artists that I did not have. So the more I elevate, I want to take people up with me, and I'll just continue to do that as I storytell. Whether that be in acting, photography, styling, or documentary filmmaking.
There's no boundaries, bro.
None.
At all.
There's no cap to what we can do.
Literally. And I want you to be able to share your platform with the audience as well. I'd love for you to share your social media platform so they can look into everything. Because you're literally writing history right now.
Wow.
And you're a part of like a big shift in the culture. And
wow.
Even you being a multifaceted creative is a big step. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people are afraid to do that. A lot of people are afraid to be judged and viewed and seen. So please let them know your social media and where they can find you.
Yeah. You can find my Instagram at its Christopher Horne. Horne spelled Horne. My website, ChristopherHorne.co. And learn more about my production company at unheardproductions.com. But before I go, I gotta give you something. I gotta remind you of something. I don't think you really remember. So this goes back to maybe I think like 8 years ago. My 21st birthday. I had Justin. We were at FIT, and I had Justin make me a blazer. I was inspired by like that recent or that in the Balmain collection in that time. And I gave you my inspiration, and I knew you would kill it. And this is the blazer I wore for my 21st birthday. Still insane, like still a masterpiece.
Yo, that's crazy. I did this in 2016.
Crazy. So yeah,
this was hand sewn like around the border.
Insane.
That's wild, bro. You kept it in great condition. Bro.
And from this, you just continue to elevate. So, brother, I'm proud of you.
Damn, bro. I'm like emotional right now, bro. I came a long way. I started off actually sewing by like doing hand stitch sequin on clothes and stuff.
Yeah. Man, I was excited to rock this. I remember when you did like a fitting and everything. Like the detailing, look at this.
I remember when I went to the snap store to put these in too.
That was literally almost, I think, 7 years ago.
Damn, bro.
Yeah.
Damn, I appreciate this, bro.
Of course.
And I appreciate you coming on the platform and having a conversation with me.
It's needed.
We definitely gonna break a lot of barriers this year for real.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Love
bro.
you, man.
Love you too, bro.
I've been feeling so distant from you, cause I just been so busy. Don't you take it personal, cause I ain't, I'm just cooling with my friends. When you see me at the top, you'll understand. Focus on my business, got the vision, I'm the man with a plan.